Hello, everybody, whoever's here. Since there's absolutely no hockey on, see how many people actually show up today. Today, we're going to be looking at players to be traded. Players who won't be back. Hey, how you doing, Oilers, Matt? Nice for you to come in, even though there's no hockey around at all. So yesterday we were talking about who's not going to be back next year. So I don't think we ever did the Edmonton Oilers, but it's pretty obvious who's not going to be back next year for the Edmonton Oilers. The obvious one, and I don't know where he'll end up, of course, is they should just keep the depth chart. Forget about all of the COVID stuff on here. Is Kyle Turris, right? Kyle Turris definitely won't be back. Yeah, I honestly didn't watch it. It's holidays right now, and I had family stuff to do and stuff like that. I did notice that Vegas completely outshot. I'm getting a little concerned with Lehner. He has not looked sharp so far this year. I think they're really kicking themselves they didn't stick with Fleury. But a different league, I would say. Unless he retires, which he could, because I mean he's made a crap load of money. I would say a different league. I get the impression that maybe he just does. His heart's not in it anymore. I would think so. He might get a PTO, or someone might sign him to like a two-way contract or something if he wants to do that. Who knows? Maybe somebody gives him a $750,000 one way. I don't know. But I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't give him anything. I wouldn't give him a two-way contract. I bet you if you put him in the AHL, he wouldn't even put up great numbers now. I bet you he wouldn't. I bet you he wouldn't even put up good numbers in the AHL. I think his heart's not in it anymore. Honestly, maybe decides he wants to play around in Sweden for a while or something, or Switzerland, or he's made all that money, so go somewhere where you can half-ass it and they don't mind because you got enough talent that you're still going to put up some points. I don't even think he'll care about the money. That's kind of what I think. It's not 2014 anymore, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Kyle. I mean, he was a top. I want to say a top 5 pick by Arizona, and then he did some things there that annoyed them and asked for a trade, didn't he? Right? He asked for a trade. And he goes to Ottawa. He has a couple good years. And it was somewhere around, let's look up Kyle, his numbers there. Kyle Turris. He was drafted, 3rd overall, 2007. And I don't know what happened with Phoenix, but I think he wasn't happy with his ice time or something, kind of an immature dude. And then got traded to Ottawa. The first year he had 29 points in 49 games. Second year, 29 points in 48 games. I think that was like right around the lockout shortened season. Then he had a couple of his best years. 26 goals, 57 points. Played in the World Championships and had 6 points in 8 games. Like, things were going not too bad. Oh yeah, it was a lockout shortened because he played over at Karpat. Then he had that 64 point year. Yeah, like all the way through till 2018. And then he went to Nashville, and then after that, he just was nothing. And the year that Nashville bought him out, he actually had 31 points in 62 games. But they must have known there was something going on there, that he was going to fall off real bad. I don't know. Like, you'd have to know his lifestyle or whatever. But I know that, hey, CL, how you doing, buddy? I know that he doesn't even look strong anymore. Like, it doesn't look like he's working out. I think he got that six. That's what happened. He's one of those guys that got the big contract, and all of a sudden yacht fishing and golfing or whatever he does took precedence over doing the things you got to do to be an NHL player. So really unfortunate. Sweden or something like that. He can go wherever he wants. The guy's, he's made tons of money, 36 million on that one contract, and then he gets paid that out, and he gets bought out, so he still gets that money, and then the Oilers give him 1.7 million for 2 years, which was 3.4 for 2 years or something like that. Which was ridiculous. When they did that, I was like, what are you thinking, man? Erickson fell off. Skinner. There's lots of guys that have never been the same. Maybe not fallen off, but have never been the same since they got their big contracts. It happens not a high percentage of the time, but enough that you notice. For sure. And so I don't know. Is he like when the Oilers gave him that contract? I was like, Poile is a pretty smart guy. He just basically bought out, I think, 4 or 5 of his years. Like, it was a ridiculous buyout. Like, it's something where a buyout like that is like the last straw. A buyout like that is like we're fed up. We don't want you in the room. We don't want you anywhere near us. So when you put his whole career together, he sounded like a pretty arrogant kid when he asked for a trade out of Arizona because he's not getting enough minutes, blah, 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 blah. He goes to Ottawa, and there wasn't anything in Ottawa that I heard of or thought of. He had pretty good numbers and all that. But then when it came time for contract, Ottawa didn't want to pay up. And I mean, it's not like they don't sign players. They do. But there was probably something in them that Kyle Opozo, there's another good one. Yeah. Ladd, but Ladd was injured. I mean, that was everybody knew Ladd was injured when he got that contract. There was a whole bunch of bad ones right at that year. When Okposo got his contract, there was a whole bunch of bad contracts that year. Ladd was one of them. Tyler Myers, I don't really think he got worse, honestly. He just stayed the same. He got the contract and he was about the same as he always was. So I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say he got worse. That was just bad asset management. I think that was more just poor what are they going to say? Like poor uh, talent identification is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, we mentioned Jeff Skinner, but I wonder. Let's see if we can find a guy on every team that got the contract and sucked. Mike Hoffman, before this contract, he got a contract in Florida and slowly declined. That would be one. Vegas hasn't been around long enough to think that they got one. I don't think Tampa has any. Yeah, Justin Abdelkader, that was injury. That was a two-pronged thing because it was injury related and it was it was just he didn't have the talent for that contract. So he had like 1 year where he had a whole bunch of pucks bounce off his butt, and they gave him a huge contract. So it was. I'm just going to share this out and see if I can find anybody. Vlasic, Doughty. They kind of gave him that when he was older and declining, anyways, though, with Doughty, didn't they? If I remember correctly. Carlson was already injured. It was a bad contract. I wouldn't really throw that on him. What he did in Ottawa and playing on that foot, he never should have did that. It pretty much didn't ruin him, but he never was the same after that. Bobrovsky for sure. Nelson, it's been a pretty consistent second liner. Subban, I think that was happening no matter what. Subban was a guy that just had too many things on the go his whole career. Hockey was just a thing he did. It seemed, anyways. Johansson never reached his potential. And you got to think, Johansson, Tortorella basically, he never said it with his words, but it was pretty much his decision to say that he's not going to be a number one center. So Johansson might have got as good as he ever was going to get. Jones, like Jones now, Jones? It's hard to tell yet. He's a point-a-game player in Chicago. He's always been poor defensively. Neil, yeah. Well, Neil was a guy that never hardly ever worked out. Anyways, he was one of those. He's one of those guys like that was another one. You got to know the character of the player you're signing. Calgary signed him to a huge deal, and he was likely going to decline early because he even said himself after the first year in Calgary, he said that he wasn't going to he wasn't going to play golf that year. He was going to actually get in shape, and it didn't really work out. It's a little late. And these guys, it's not like they don't work out or something like that, but I mean they don't put in the work like a lot like most players do. Neil Koskinen wasn't really that. He's probably as good as he ever was going to be, though. Coots, I guess. Maybe. I doubt that was contract related, though, CL, don't you? Goligoski? Seth Jones. Oh yeah, I guess the contract he got in Columbus. Maybe that might have had something to do with it. Although, like, he's not doing too bad in Chicago right now. I think with Seth Jones, that had more to do with the philosophical difference with Tortorella. Tortorella was trying to turn him into a shutdown defenseman that can put up points, but he's just not that. He's just not that. And he lost confidence trying to be that. As much as I love Tortorella, I that's one thing I got to say. Like, Tortorella doesn't want to adjust his way of thinking to include a player that doesn't play. Like, just trade him. And the funny thing was, that was a guy, Seth Jones was the guy they got for Johansson. So Lucic, when he got to $6 million, I mean, he was already fading pretty good in LA. But I wouldn't imagine. I would imagine the $6 million lifestyle didn't help his decline. That's for sure. He seems to be doing all right in Calgary right now. Nikita Zaitsev, yeah. Chicago contract is too much. The general managers look at those high point defensemen. You know, he's putting up good points. He's got a lot of range, but you know, he's a high risk guy. What's he getting in? See, I think Chicago identified the fact that Tortorella, that, you know, Jones isn't going to be the best defensive guy on your team. He's just not. And he's got 23 points in 30 games. That's pretty good point production for any defenseman, really. But he is poor defensively. So I'd say, yeah, 9.5 for him is too much for what he brings, for sure. Well, that didn't get the GM signed in Chicago. That's for sure. That's not what happened there. But I would say it's too much. I think Nurse is too much too. Nurse is too much. I think Toronto did okay with Morgan Riley, 7.5. How many points does he have this year? He's got 26 points in 30 games. I would argue that he's better defensively than Jones. So he doesn't bring the size, but I would take Riley over Jones. So I'd say they got a pretty darn good contract in comparison to Jones at all. Yeah, DiPietro fell off after the contract, but he was injured already. He was injured. He's talked about that an awful lot. He feels terrible that happened, but I wonder if he didn't have that contract. I don't know. You know, speculation, right? Like, I don't want to do that. But I would say, yeah, it's a bad contract for sure. We got on this because we started talking about Turris. What other teams? I don't think Tampa has a single one that did that. Like Tampa doesn't have a single guy that got the contract and folded at the moment. Maybe there was one that was on their team, but I can't think of them right now. Vancouver Canucks, you can make a case that Ekman Larson, he went on a pretty steep decline. And I mean, he's having another bad year this year for $7.5 million. 5 points in 28 games for an offensive defenseman. But in the previous years, he had 44. He was like a 0.5 point per game guy, which was pretty much what he was his whole career. So maybe he just got. There's another one, JVR. I think that was mostly injury related, though, right? Adam Henrique. This suit says Keller's contract is bad. I think you're trying to say that's silly. Keller's contract is good. Yeah, contract's good. I mean, it's a bad Arizona team. I mean, I can't believe he hasn't asked to be moved out of there. He's going to stick with that organization and go through this rebuild after he pretty much never really had a team that could possibly go to a cup run. Brett Connolly, there's a good one. Yeah, he went totally south. Like, he's not even good in the AHL right now, and they brought him up to play in Chicago. And then he goes and does that stupid freaking whatever he did there. Mindless. Now he may never play in the league again. Eric Johnson, again, he went through a lot of injuries there. Duchesne. I don't know if Duchesne it wasn't really, yeah, Duchesne until this year. Duchesne. Danny DeKeyser injured. Guy was injured all the time. I wonder, these guys that are injured like that, are they Duchesne would definitely be one. Matt Zuccarello when he was a Ranger, but in Minnesota he's been. Oh no, he got that contract in Minnesota. I don't think I'd put him in there. He was just a pretty old guy, but he changes the whole mood of your room. That was a big reason why I think they gave him that contract. Does Columbus have anybody? It's amazing, though. You know, like, I guess guys fight hard to get to where they're going. And when they get that big contract, I think it just sort of takes the edge off a little bit. Matheson got a big, long contract. And certainly, I think with Matheson, that was trying to be more than he is, trying to do too much. Trouba, kind of, yeah. Better this year, though. Trouba has been worth his contract this year, and again, Matheson and Trouba both, I think they were trying to do too much. They get a big contract, long contract, and I think they're trying to do too much. And now he goes to Pittsburgh. I mean, he's not great. Matt Murray, there's a good one. Matt Murray. Yep. Matt Murray is an excellent example of a guy. However, I mean, he got the big contract in Ottawa. He was already not doing good in Pittsburgh. But his contract, let's bring up Matt Murray there. He was already doing bad in Pittsburgh. To me, with Matt Murray, it was almost like after they traded Fleury, he started getting a big head or something. Now he's in the minors. How did he do in the minors, by the way? Or is he injured again? Did he ever go to the minors? He played 2 games for Belleville, 2.54 and a .918. But he had 2 years. Look at his contract. Yeah, he got the 3.75 in 2017-18. And that year he sucked. The next year after that, he did well, though. He had a 2.69 and a .919. And then after that, it was bad. Yeah. The last year of Pittsburgh, he was not very good. And Ottawa, he hasn't been good in Ottawa yet. In fact, he's worse this year than last year as far as numbers are concerned. Yeah, Niederreiter did play for the New York Islanders. But Matt Murray's a perfect example of that. A guy who gets the contract. I mean, it's not the contract, but 3.7 is still a lot. And like immediately that year, he's not good. Then the next year, he did not bad, though. That's the weird thing. And then he hasn't had a good year since. And then then Ottawa still gives him a $6 million a year contract, which is pretty cray-cray. Why would you give a guy who hasn't put up good numbers for 2 years a 6-year, $6 million contract? That's ridiculous. Brett Gallant, is that Gallant's son? Yeah, they got problems in Philly with injuries, guys that are injured. Ellis now, Hayes can't seem to not be injured no matter like what he does. And most of the guys that are like that are injured, but that can't be said for Murray. That was a really good one. Do the Dallas Stars have anybody? Maybe to a lesser, not really Sagan. Jamie Benn seemed to fall off right when he got the 9.5 mil. When did he get that contract? He got that contract in 1917-18 or 2017-18. 1917. Yeah. And yeah, the very year he had a good year that year, and then his point production went down right after that. Look at that. He gets a contract in 2017-18. 17-18. He's a point-a-game player. The next year, 53 points in 78. And all of a sudden, he's getting injured more. 39 points in 69, 35 and 52. And this year, he's at a half a point a game. Well, yeah. I mean, they're saying that they're still high on him and all that. But what else are they going to say? I just don't think Ottawa will ever buy a contract out. That's the problem. Yeah, he was good the first year, and then well, it's not that he's not good. His offense just fell off right after that. His offense just fell off right after that. I got to share this out. Sorta. I mean, he's had a good year this year. Now that he wants out of there. I didn't know this. Did you know that not only did he ask to be traded, he also gave him a 10 team trade list. 10 teams that he's willing to go to. Oh, somebody just came in. Woo! Give you a little Pearlo dance. Pretty sparse crowd today with no NHL going on, but I think Tarasenko dipped a bit after his contract. Some guys dip after their contract and then they come back again. I mean, let's face it, like when you go from being a couple 100,000 a year to 7 or 8 or whatever million, your lifestyle is going to change. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of more things that might lead you away from the things you need to do to be a hockey player. You've got more money to do all the things that you want to do. And, it's got to go through your head. Like, okay, am I going to go to the gym today, or, jump on a plane and head over to LA and party, or, whatever. And you meet ladies all over the place. You're a young guy. It's there's a lot of temptation when you're making that kind of money. Yeah. He's doing great considering he doesn't want to play for them, that's for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, those things definitely come into play. In all honesty, I'm sure if I was given that kind of a contract, I would not doubt at all that I may not be as dedicated to my doing what I'm supposed to do as I would before I got that kind of money. There are like guys like Crosby and stuff. Like I don't think it changes them at all. Like what they want to do is what they're doing, and they want to like. He lives at the rink. Apparently, he just loves it. So giving him that kind of money isn't going to change. Isn't going to really probably do much to stop him from doing what he wants to do, because that's exactly what he wants to do anyways. Hack and paw for Norris. That would be freaking awesome. When we're the largest live stream in the land, we're up there with Shannon there and the hockey guy and all that stuff like that. On my bucket list, I'm going to read out the Norris candidates And I'm gonna. And I'll read out the Norris candidates, and I'll say, and for the Norris, it's Yanni Hakanpää. I'll do that, and I'll just go. I'm just kidding. It's Makar, but it should be Hakanpää. And the Vesna as well, Molten Boom. That would be great. I'll get everybody that's there. Everybody that's there. I'll get all the players that are there and everything to do it with me. Everybody now. Molten Boom. No, like Sydney. Oh, come on. You got to move forward, Sydney. You can't just sit back. Molten Boom. You got to. Oh, okay, everybody try it again. Yes, there should be a there should be a Hakanpää trophy. For what? The Hakanpää you get there. We're going to start honoring the best 5-6 spot defensemen in the league. Start giving trophies out for bottom pair defensemen. The best bottom pair defenseman in the league. It's the Hakanpää. Yeah, I love it. Let's do that. Or you could do like the best name in the league, I suppose. I can't believe somebody left. We're talking Hakanpää and somebody leaves. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. That's true. I'm gonna have to do with John off the wall or Peyton. I'm gonna have to do a Dallas game for sure. Who are the best AHL players? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. And I do go down and I check out their stats, but I hardly ever watch AHL games because I can't. I don't get them. So I imagine it's probably like guys that are in the league right now. Are you talking about like veterans that have been around in the AHL for a long time? And you know, the one that yeah. the one AHL player that the Oilers brought up, he's like those guys that are right on the edge. Right now, I wouldn't doubt if it's because they sent him down. It's Barboulay. I wouldn't doubt if Barboulay would be up there as the top. Oh, it's right now. It's Evander Kane. What am I talking about? Evander Kane is the best AHL player right now. He went into COVID protocol, today, I think. The NHL isn't going to the Olympics, and that doesn't mean just Sidney Crosby and Patrick Kane. Is no longer the general manager of the USA? Of course not. Why did they? I guess it's a slow news day. I got to give them. They're talking about how Bill Guerin is no longer the general manager of the U.S. team. Obviously, he could get rehired again. He has 10 goals. Yeah. Well, Barboulay wouldn't have many points because he just got sent down. But I mean, when he was down there, he ripped it up pretty good. He's just one of the, and I think he'll get another chance again. But yeah, Alex Barboulay, he's only 24. He's just so small. It's his size is the problem. He's just got 4 points in 4 games in the AHL right now. But I'm sure he'll do way better than that. And that's not a very good team either. I don't know. Is Gologov? Why did they not have him? Oh yeah, Pavel Gogolev. Gogolev, that's what it is. How come it says he only has 6 points in 14 games? I see that he only has 6 points in 14 games. Connor Mackey. Oh yeah, he's out of college, right? He's working his way up to Calgary. Calgary's roster, Calgary's depth chart. There was thought that he might be able to make the team this year, but it didn't work out for him. And with Sutter there, that doesn't surprise me because he's very cautious with his young players. So, Connor Mackey, what's he doing down there? He's 23 already. 14 points in 23 games, so he probably projects as more of a defensive defenseman. 6'2". I know they were really high on him. 24 points in 36 games is last year at college when he would have been 22, which is okay. It doesn't look like offense is going to be his strong suit in the NHL. But best guys in the New York Islanders probably got some guys there that have been around a long time, filling in spots. They put Austin Chernak down. Back again. When he's down there, he's got to be one of the best guys. Hmm, 15 points in 20 games. Yeah, Jacob Pelche. Another Calgary one. He should be ready here soon. How come I don't see Jacob Pelche in their minors? Now, is he not with them anymore? Or am I thinking of the wrong person? How's Matthew Coronado doing? 12 points in 11 games. Not bad. Is he with Toronto now? I thought he was Calgary. I could have swore he was Calgary. Jacob Pelche. Oh, that's the Islanders. Okay. I guess I was wrong. I guess I was wrong. Where is he now? Who's he play for, John? Well, how come I can't find him on Cap Friendly? Is he injured, maybe? Andrioff, Panic. Oh, that's Islanders again. Why am I doing that? Calgary. Miners. Duel, Azari, Godin, Kirkland, Phillips, Pospisil. Oh, Jacob Pelche. I found it. It's in alphabetical order. That's why. Okay. Yeah, he's 5'9". Just a little guy. Again, another little guy. 10 goals. He's got 27 points in 23 games. What was he? Oh, he had. Now he's got to get a look here soon. If he's putting those kind of numbers up. How old is he? 20? For sure. He's got to get a look soon, even though he isn't that big of a guy. I would say Stockton. Yeah, I found him. I didn't realize it was in alphabetical order. I was thinking about doing a series on who wouldn't be back next year. Like Seattle Kraken, I think it could be a ton of guys not back next year. Like, I don't know. They got to re-sign Jared McCann. And I would think that the reason why Jared McCann keeps on getting traded is he's one of these guys that want the biggest contract they can get. He's probably talked numbers with other teams and they didn't like it. I don't think Wenberg will be back. If they can find somebody to trade him. And then they got like Max McCormick, Alex True, Cal Yarncroc, Ryan Donato, Morgan Geeky are all. Oh no, Donato's only a restricted free agent? Wow. He'll get paid a little bit. But Yarncroc is a UFA, and I don't think they'll have him back. They'll probably trade him. I think they'll find a home for Vince Dunn, maybe, if they can. I think a lot of them are not going to be back. Glenn Godin, yeah, it looks like he's never going to make it. He had it. I think that last chance he had was it. He's not fast enough. He's a very good AHL player, but it doesn't seem to translate. Somebody will give him a shot though. Somebody will give him another shot because he puts up good numbers in the minors. But when he comes up, he can't find his niche. He's like one of those guys that has to play in your top 6, but he's not good enough to play in your top 6 in the NHL. I can't even check the depth chart because everything's on. They got everybody that's on COVID out there. Why wouldn't they just have the depth chart? And I should look up another one, I guess, instead of complaining about it. No, I don't want cap friendly. RotoWire, you got to pay for. Sports. Oh yeah, I forgot about Sports Forecaster. Is that still available now? I think that's not a site anymore. Ah, it's not. Well, I don't. That would be amazing if I had half my subscribers in my streams. That would be really good. I think I'm gonna have to try to get over 100 first. That's my goal right now. 100 people in my stream. The best I've done is 20. I got up to 20 one time. If everybody that watched my stream would come at the same time, I'd be pretty close, but they never seem to do either. Who will be traded at the deadline? And we did Montreal lots. It's kind of hard to tell because you don't know who's going to be out of it. Like if the Philadelphia Flyers don't make it, that they're the biggest head scratcher team. I don't know. You would think that they would. I mean, like Keith Yandel maybe. I seriously don't think they'll trade anybody, even though they didn't make the playoffs, because they're not rebuilding. So it's kind of hard to say who's going to make it and who's not right now. Like, just there's a couple that are for sure. Ottawa probably won't. But they've traded a lot of their veterans away. They might have been able to get. Ottawa might have been able to get. They keep on talking about Chris Turney, but they never trade him. Zachary Sanford, that they got from St. Louis, maybe. They're going to try to get rid of Zaitsev, but nobody seems to want him as it stands. They really don't have anybody to trade. Ennis, Tierney, Sanford, like any older guy is possible. Nick Holden maybe, but I mean, you're not getting much for those guys. Maybe Josh Brown, if they think that they have some young players that are able to take his spot. Oh, Patricia's back. Patricia's back. She's going to spam my stream so it increases my algorithm. Can you guys, as long as you guys can still message, that's all that matters. Josh Brown could be traded. If they think they have a young player to take his spot, don't worry about Patricia. She'll go away eventually. I think eventually. I think he will. Like, if they have some young, I imagine. Let's see, who do they got coming up in Ottawa? They're young players here. In the minors, Kelly Parker got some time. I don't. He looked okay. I don't think he's going to be a top 6 though. It's funny, they've been rebuilding all this time, but they don't really have like anybody that jumps out at you that can take his spot, really. Oliver Johansson, that was 2021. Amazing. Most of their prospects, you know, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. They still got a lot of building to do in Ottawa, I think. I suppose they could trade him, and because he's had a bad year. He has no points. Who's going to take him, though? Oh, that's Joshua Brown. That's a defenseman. I'm not thinking of Joshua Brown. I'm thinking of Connor Brown. Connor Brown. They could consider trading him, getting maybe, you know, seeing if they can get a second round pick and then signing a free agent that's somewhere around the same. Jake from college? Jake. For Ottawa? Jake Sanderson. He's a defenseman, though. Yeah, Jake Sanderson and Tyler Clevin, both of them are probably going to be gooders. So, but forwards they don't really have. That guy Tyler Boucher they picked last year has got 3 points in 17 games in the NCAA and 34 penalty minutes. I don't understand for the life of me why they picked that guy. He's a fourth liner for sure, and you pick him in the first round. Robert Hagg, that's a good one that probably could get traded. He had a good year in Buffalo. Kyle, how you doing, buddy? We're talking about people that'll be traded up. Yeah, Buffalo will probably have a couple that they'll want to that they'll trade off. Hag would make sense. But again, it depends on who they're going to be able to. Yeah, they got Matthias Samuelsson should be able to take Hag's spot next year. He's having a really good year. He played a little bit already in the NHL. He's 6'4", 218. And he's 12 points in 16 games for Rochester. Those are pretty solid numbers for a 6'4" guy. And he's going to be 22 next year. So if he could beat out Hag, or they could even just trade him anyways, because Hag is fairly replaceable. He's a lefty too, yeah, for sure. Hag. Will Butcher, but I don't think anybody's going to take him. Colin Miller, possibly. He had but he's been a healthy scratch at times. I don't think anybody's going to take the Okposo contract. But those are a couple of guys anyways. They got a lot of forwards that are ready. Jack Quinn has been crushing the AHL. 11 points and 11 goals and 13 assists and 24 points in 17 games for that kid. I guess they knew what they were doing when they made that pick. I don't know. He seems to be doing okay in Vegas now. It's taken him a while, but he doesn't have a big contract. And Vegas kind of has to roll with those guys. I think is he gonna be a restricted free agent next year? Yeah. He's gonna be a restricted free agent. He's only making league minimum. So he's gonna be looking for a contract maybe. If they really don't think he's gonna be worth it in the long run. But from what I've seen, he's played not too bad this year, so maybe not. It won't be. I mean, it's highly unlikely it would be at the deadline unless they were going to use him to get another big player, like a part of a package. But I guess if they can't work out a deal in the off season, maybe. But from what I can tell, he looks like he's improving pretty good. He'll be on a fairly reasonable contract, so I don't think he'll get much more than $1 million or something like that. He'll get a little raise, and for Vegas, that's going to have to be working their cap a lot. That's probably pretty valuable to them. The Dallas Stars, if they miss, that'll be interesting. I think they'll trade Radulov if they miss, if they can find somebody for him. Somebody will take him. Because I don't think he's going to be back next year. At half his contract for a cup run, he's had a bad year. But there would be a team out there that would want a big body guy, a guy like that. I would imagine they would still give him a shot, even though with his age. I guess it would depend on how much of these injuries are the reason why he's having a bad year too. He could be just done. Could be just all over for him. But Joe Pavelski, if they miss, maybe. Yeah. Where are they in the playoff picture right now? That's a tough one to trade Pavelski because I don't know. He's one of those guys you don't want to mistreat guys like that. If he's cool with it, then yeah, I would say they're sixth now. Yeah, they're quite a bit out. 20, 15, 12. They could still go on a run and be all right. What do they got? 32 points. Oh yeah, they could still make it. But if they're, I mean, Winnipeg, Los Angeles, Dallas. Los Angeles, I've really liked the tail end before this break hit. Winnipeg looked good with the new coach, so I don't know. That's going to be if they're still in it, he probably doesn't get traded. So they're going to have to fall off quite a bit. I doubt they trade Ben. I think he's got a no trade clause too, ironclad. So if they really fall off hard, then you could see some trades like those kind of guys. But I mean, if they're still in it, almost surely they won't. And probably to their fault, actually. I would say that if you're barely in the playoffs, because the whole thing when they did that run in the lockout shortened season, and they're trying to recreate that again. I think that team's just not good enough. It's not good enough. They poured a lot of money into it, and it's not good enough. But I think they also have an owner that won't admit that. So I doubt they'll. I think that team will probably just get old, and then right till the bitter end, and then do like a terrible rebuild. That's what I get the feeling of Dallas. Just that owner just doesn't seem to want to give up no matter what. Because Seguin already is looking like how many injuries he had. He's not the player he once was. You got Pavelski there. Radulov is leaving. I'm pretty sure Radulov is leaving. You know, Jason Robertson and Rope Hintz are their big young players for the future. Dennis Gurianov, I don't know, will he ever put it together? He looks like he I don't know. He could be a late bloomer. He gives you like this. Sometimes you look at Gurianov and you're like, this guy's going to be a 30-goal scorer. And then other times he can't get into the spots for his shot. He's got a killer shot, but he's not the fastest guy in the world. And he's got to base everything on timing, and I don't know if he's going to find it. There's some players like him make it, and some don't. But you know, Jamie Benn, he's been on a downward trend now for a while. He's 32 years old. Sagan's only 29. He's only got 12 points in 29 games this year. I mean, that's brutal for a guy who's making 9.8. It's really their biggest problem. Their biggest name players are not good enough, except for Miro Heiskanen. Esa Lindell, like I said, like they would have to be rebuilding to trade guys like that. I just don't think Dallas will ever do that. Well, I think they will, but they're not going to do it now. I think they're going to keep on kicking that can and hoping this team can fluke out and win a cup. Yeah. The Oilers, maybe, but I think they're the first team to really tear it down. Like completely rip it down to the bottom. Buffalo said they were going to do it, but they never really did. Ottawa kind of did. Ottawa would be the other one. But I think Arizona is even more so. And a lot of it had to do with they didn't really have all that much to give up. That was the problem. They didn't have any real big players to grab assets with. But they still managed to get 4 firsts this year. And if they're right out of it, White Joe, I just don't think they're right out of it. I think they'll probably Dallas is that team that's going to be on the bubble every year. They won't trade anybody. Hey, well, you're back again? I think that's the second time you've been back. Let me see who. When the question will be if the Islanders can come back, be close. You know, I don't think the Islanders can come back for this. What are they going to do? Wouldn't it be something if the Islanders were sellers? Like, who are they going to sell though? Bailey? Are you going to get anything for Bailey right now? I don't think so. No, I don't think they rebuild either, but I think they end up just, unless they catch lightning in a bottle, which they kind of did with Robertson. They've drafted well, no doubt about that. But unless they catch lightning in a bottle and get like some more guys like that, I see them pretty much as a tweener team, getting middle picks and not trading players to get more picks and then just sitting in the middle until they fade away. Yeah, Thomas Harley, that was a really nice pickup, a nice drafting by them. You're baking stuff right now. Good. Baking's good. But anyways, the New York Islanders I was going to look at. Could they, I mean, who are they going to sell? I think the New York Islanders are just going to say it was a shortened off season. We're a little old, and I don't think they'll do much of anything. They're not going to trade Pajot. Brock Nelson, does he have a no trade clause? Brock Nelson has a moderate no trade clause. 16-team no trade list. Holy crap. Yeah, why not? 16-team no trade list for Nelson. So I could see them making a move like trading Nelson and then going after a better center. And I mean, Palmieri hasn't worked out at all. I don't know what kind of deal they have with Palmieri, because I know Palmieri wanted nothing. He was going to the island and that was it. Like, he had other offers. From what I understand, he took less to go there. So I don't see them trading too many players, and they get some rest and give it a shot next year all over again. Maybe Andy Green. Nah, they won't do that to him. Andy Green basically has told them that he's only playing for the Islanders. If it wasn't for the Islanders giving him a contract, he probably would be retired already. That's from what I understand. He wanted to stay close to New Jersey. Nah, they got too many of the same kind of guys like that. They need skill. They need creative players on there to help Barzal. And Palmieri's an up and down winger. I mean, he's great at driving at the net and stuff like that. But at this point, I think he's more of a third liner than a top two. And I don't know what the situation is with him. Would he be willing to go somewhere else? I don't know. But that would be a guy if he's willing to do so, I would definitely be looking at trading him for sure. Getting some assets, because New York needs. You know what really hurt them though was the Taves trade. That really hurt them. They haven't been able to make up the loss of Taves ever since they let him go. And they only got 2 seconds for him. I think if they were to trade anybody, it might be Brock Nelson. And the thing about trading Brock Nelson is they might be able to get a winger back in return. Which they could have Pajot as their second line center. Barzal. Where could they send him to? to get a winger. Minnesota Wild. Fiala plus. Something like that. I don't think Corey Schneider is really in the league anymore. He is, but he's not. If he's on your first line, you're in trouble. Yeah, right, Mercer. For sure. Not a guy you want on your first line, that's for sure. Nelson to Minnesota, yeah. It all depends on what they think Rossi, how long his window is. But Nelson to Minnesota, and like I said, they only need a winger. And a winger that has some creativity to him. But Fiala's not really that either. But he is a shoot-first guy. I think he could be okay with Barzal. Nelson to Montreal. I think Montreal's going to burn her down, Oilers, man. I think Montreal's burning her down. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near buyers. I think they're going to be trading away a lot of players there, so probably not. If they decide not to, which I would be really, really surprised that you... I'm not saying they're going to burn it down like Arizona, but you don't hire Gorton if you're not going to rebuild to some extent. Nelson... Maybe if they don't think Carter's old legs can make it. But then you're looking at, like, it's the return. The thing is they're not looking to get prospects and stuff like that. They're looking to get a winger that can play now, I'm pretty sure, if they were to do that. A young winger would be great, but, I mean, would you say Pittsburgh doesn't have any of those that they're willing to give up for sure? Unless they give up Kapanen, which I don't think would be a very wise thing to do. Jason Zucker is Jason Zucker, I've never been a Zucker guy. He's only got 11 points in 30 games. He's sort of reinvented his game now as a two-way guy, which is fine, but Islanders don't need anybody anymore like that. I don't think there's a fit there for Pittsburgh. Because, I really think that they're going to want... The good thing about trading a center for a winger, you can usually get a really nice winger. Because centers are considered more valuable. Oh, let's see what you got. Boston maybe, but I mean you're not going to get much. They don't have much for depth on the wings either. Minnesota seems like the best bet. New York Rangers keep on wanting to trade Strome. But is he really that much, Nelson really that much of an upgrade? Minnesota Wild. Colorado has Kadri. If they wanted to get stupid deep down the middle, maybe. Oh, they got Newhook. Nah, they won't do that. They're not gonna take Newhook's minutes away from him. No way. Nelson. Well, Vegas. Yeah. I just don't think that's. They got their Eichel. I think that's it. The Boston Bruins would be one that would be probably in there. I just don't think that they'd have enough. They wouldn't be able to beat Minnesota if Minnesota was in. And otherwise, you're talking about guys like DeBrusk. Is that really going to turn the needle for the Islanders? It's kind of risky. I think the Kraken are going to be selling off players, so he's kind of old. Like, it's hard because you can't see their full depth. Oh yeah, I looked at that already. Where did I have that? Yeah, I think RotoWire. Yeah, Sports Forecaster. They don't. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. How do I change teams here now? Okay, yeah, okay. I'm looking at NHL Forecaster. This will help me with the depth chart now that Cap Friendly's all messed up because they're all. Oh, they got that too. They got them all. No, they don't. So you put if you put Draisaitl on the left wing, I could see the Oilers, but I mean, who are they got? It's got to be salary for salary. Like Yamamoto, and it's got to be more than Yamamoto. Tough one. Yeah, they don't have enough depth on the wing either. Nobody, I don't think anybody wants Bailey right now. His contract is high. They tried to give him away for nothing, and I mean, they took Eberle instead. So that doesn't mean he has no value, I suppose. Will they make the Detroit? I think they might pooch out come as could being a young team. I think this break is going to help a lot for that for teams like the Detroit Red Wings. Those young guys are going to get a chance to regroup and stuff like that. But now they know what they're getting into too. So young players, it's usually a pretty big eye opener. That's why the second year, the sophomore season, is tough for. They already have Dano. I guess if Dano goes down to the third line, that could make some sense. I guess you play Dano as a third liner. But they got Kupari that they're working on, Yeah, you know what? I thought there would be more of a market for him than there is. I thought there'd be more of a market for Nelson than there is. I think it's possible that where the heck? Where did that go? Okay. Yeah. I think it's possible that I lost my train of thought now. I totally lost my train of thought, dude. Wow. I feel like Peyton here now. St. Louis is who I was looking at. That's right, St. Louis. Jeez. I think St. Louis will be buyers, but I'm not sure they need centers all that much. No, because they got Shen. Unless they think he's an upgrade. Philadelphia has Hayes. If Hayes doesn't get healthy, maybe. But I'm really surprised there isn't more of a market for him. Oh, what about, I mean, what about Columbus? But who are they going to trade? Like, I doubt they would trade Roslovic, and I don't think the Islanders would want Roslovic. But at this point, I think they really have to consider the idea that he had pretty good points this year, though. And he's from Columbus. Maybe for like Alexander Tessier or something like that. This has got to be one of the few years that I've looked at finding a place for a center, and I couldn't find one. Yeah, Tessier, yeah. Tessier and maybe plus another one. I don't know. Depends how high they are on Tessier. New York Rangers are probably in on Chychrun, yeah. I would say so. I don't think Bjorkstrand is part of the fabric of that team. I don't think they would ever trade Bjorkstrand. He's just, especially with this new management with Davidson and stuff like that, like they realize that if you got guys that like playing in Columbus, you got to hold on to them. So it would be I think Tessier, something like that. But I'm really surprised that there isn't more of a market for a guy like him. And if you're not going to get a guy that can play top minutes, then there really is much use trading him. Like Boston makes sense, but you get DeBrusk and like they already have very little depth on their wings. Jake DeBrusk is just never just. Do you want to take a chance on that for a fairly solid second line center? Really surprised I can't find a home for this guy for Nelson. So it looks like he's not going anywhere because it doesn't look like there's anybody that would be a good fit, honestly. About maybe Dallas because they're having so many problems with injuries and stuff like that. Jamie, oh, they got Jamie, yeah, maybe Dallas. But for who? They're playing Tyler Seguin on the wing right now. That tells you that he's still not all that well. Maybe Dallas, like you want like Radulov? If you thought Radulov was going to be able to play, I guess I'm really surprised. So anyways, I guess I should end that. Do you guys find any more? I did a video on Chickering to the Leafs. Have you watched it? Merzlikins. You think Merzlikins will get traded? He hasn't had the he said he was going to have this crushing year this year, and he really hasn't had a very crushing year. They're not going to keep Korpisalo, so unless they've got a young guy that they think is ready to take his spot, and they just say, you know what, we gave her a shot. Merzlikins, mentally, he's got all the tools, but mentally, he just doesn't seem to be able to put it all together. So they could, and then go after a goaltender in the offseason, because they're going to be out of it anyways, and goaltenders aren't all that hard. If you got a plan already. I don't know much about their prospects, and they're super young. They're minors. Oh, that Tarasov guy. If they think Tarasov is ready, maybe. 22 years old, you're probably going to need to get another goaltender to play with them. I don't think Korpisalo is the answer, that's for sure. Joonas Korpisalo is a free agent. Let him go. Probably he'll get traded at the deadline to somebody who wants scoring depth for a middle pick. Hey, Bill, how you doing? Mikko Koskinen to the Blue Jackets. That was thought that they were going to trade Koskinen to the Blue Jackets for Korpisalo, which is basically just a lateral move. Well, I mean, I'm sorry if that's still bothering you. He said he was going to play for his Kivarantov. He was going to play for Kivarantov this year. He was going to crush it. I think he put too much pressure on himself. But, I mean, he's not a young goaltender. He's 27 now. He's got all the tools. But the question is can he get mentally there to be what they need him to be? I guess no better person for that than Kekalainen. Kekalainen is one of the best guys. Kavleniks, yeah. I think they'll probably still at least give him one more year before they trade him off. But, I mean, there's a team that could be trading off players. But it would be like Max Domi. I don't think they're trading Jacob Voracek now after just getting him. Gustav Nyquist, is anybody really going to want that? 5.5? I mean, possibly just for some depth. He's got another year after this at 5.5. They don't have much. They don't have much to trade away. Defenseman. They just got Boquist. Yeah, they probably want to trade some players away, but they don't really have all that much to trade away there in Columbus. This could be a quieter trade deadline than I originally anticipated, but it won't, because Montreal and Chicago, I think, are going to make it the most interesting of all. Yeah, Kivleniks playing around, or something happened where he saved a whole bunch of people. He practically jumped in front of or something like that. That's the lore. That's what they say, anyways. Yeah, I don't think that. I think he could use that as. I think his intention was to use that as a motivator. I personally think that he puts too much pressure on himself, And when you come out and say, I'm going to win the Vezina for Kivlenieks, my friend, it's putting quite a bit of pressure on yourself. Because if you have some bad days, then your head's going, oh, I promised that I would do this and blah, 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 blah. You know, goalies don't need to put any more pressure on themselves than they already have every day. So that's the way I see it anyways. He saved Merzlikins and his wife. Wow, there you go. So, you know, like if you want to play for your friend, that's cool. But to come out and say, I'm going to win a Vezina for your friend, that's tough. Because if things don't go well, then you just keep on feeling crappy about the fact that you didn't do well for your friend and all that kind of stuff like that. So, you know, I don't know if that was the best idea. And Merzlikins has always been that guy that looks like on one hand he's going to beat the world, and then, you know, on another night he looks like he can't stop a puck. So what does Columbus have for free for? They got 2 first rounds. They got Chicago, but it's lottery protected, right? Conditions. If Chicago wins one of the 2022 draft lotteries, and the lottery win results in the pick being top 2 overall, the pick becomes a 2023 first pick. So with that deal that they did for Jones, if Chicago wins a draft lottery and it's top 2 overall, it becomes a 2023 unprotected. Imagine that. You know what I'm about to say, right? Chicago is not that great this year. If they have a really crappy year next year, which they probably won't have Fleury, they might get the top 2 this year, but what if it's Bedard? Holy crap. That would suck. That would be horrible. Who's a UFA for the Blue Jackets? I guess I should have looked at that right away, right? Max Domi. That'll be an interesting contract if they decide to give him a contract, Max Domi. He's been injured a lot. I don't know. He doesn't have much leverage. I don't think anybody's going to throw him $5 million like he already had. Besides that, Hoffman and Danforth, both of those guys are minor leaguers, probably just happy. You know, they're just going to take league minimum. Yeah, not much. And Jonas Korpisalo, who probably won't be back. So Dean Kukan, that's a guy that they could trade, but, you know, you're just going to get a middle round pick for him. And then Patrick Laine. I don't know. What do you do with Patrick Laine? He's been out all year. You got to give him a qualifying offer or he becomes a free agent. Well, I mean, Arizona or Montreal will win the draft lottery, I guess. Well, by the way, Manscaped, don't forget it. Go over there, hit the link. Arizona or Montreal, I imagine, unless they either one of them go on a run. How does that draft lottery work now? I haven't looked at Tankathon for a long time. Okay. Do a draft lottery. So I guess it's only the top 5 that are part of it. How does that work? Ooh, I just did one and the Islanders get Shane Wright. Buffalo gets the 2nd pick. And Arizona gets the 3rd. And Montreal gets the 4th. New Jersey. So, okay, here's one where Philadelphia still gets the number 1 pick, and they're in 9th. So what changed with that lottery? I want to talk about stuff that already happened in the NHL, like what? Like everybody's doing their quarterly reports right now. Stuff that already happened in the NHL. Yeah. Code Pearlo dance. Stuff that already happened in the NHL. Yeah, probably. Bad trades. Bad trades that happened like long time ago or just recently? Like the Duchesne trade? Every time Duchesne gets traded, it's a bad trade. Except for even the one in Ottawa, wasn't it? Oh gosh, that's they got to come to my mind like the worst trades. There's been so many bad trades. That the one that always comes to my mind was the Gilmore trade when he went to Calgary. That was brutal. Cody Ceci. Well, I don't think it was good for anybody though, was it? What they got, it didn't really work for anybody there. Oh, Griffin Reinhardt trade. Oh, you're making me cry now. I don't even want to think about that. I put that trade outside of my memory. Oh, I couldn't believe it when I heard that trade. The deepest draft in ages, and they trade their 1st and a 2nd for Griffin Reinhardt, who was struggling hardcore on the island. Like, oh, that's the reason why I don't want to talk about bad trades, because most of them are going to be Chiarelli. And, I mean, he put us behind the 8 ball so bad. We could have had Connor. Apparently, they said, well, you could have had Barzal, or you could have had Connor. But they said that wasn't their guy anyways. What does that mean? Like, you're just basically admitting that your drafting development people suck. If you were not going to take Kyle Connor there, I could see Barzal because they already had McDavid, and it appeared that Barzal wanted to go to a team where he could be the number 1 guy. But Connor, he went to Winnipeg. Imagine Kyle Connor playing on the Oilers right now. My gosh. And I know they need a defenseman, but yeah, the Tom Curvers. I think that was Tom Curvers. Dave Monis made bad trades. Yeah. That was just you know what? Another one was when they traded, I think it was a second round pick or a third for Brendan Manning. That was the final straw, I think. They brought Hitchcock in to coach, and he probably said we need some more size on defense. So Chiarelli just panics, it appears. It appears like he just panics. And he goes and picks up Brandon Manning, who had barely played a game in Chicago. The guy is lazy as hell, out of shape, couldn't play the defense position to save his life. And they gave up like not Koliakovo. What's his name? I mean, he's not a great player, but he's in Buffalo now. He's still had a career. He still played it. He found a spot to play. Kajula. Drake Kajula and a third or something like ridiculous like that for a lug like Brandon Manning. Unbelievable. The Hall trade, yeah. I remember when they made that trade, I said, oh, they traded Hall for Larson. I thought it was Ekman Larson. And at the time, Ekman Larson was a very good defenseman. Like, he was a really good defenseman. Oh, that's good. Ekman Larson, sure. No. Brendan Manning was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, you trade a third round pick and a college prospect that is already playing some minutes in your team for a lug that is like can't even make the Chicago. It's not like the Blackhawks had a deep lineup or anything either. Oh no. Oilers fans didn't unbelievable then. Oilers fans didn't riot. I mean, there were some people that didn't like it, but they didn't riot. They actually tried to say it was a good trade. There was a lot of guys that said, oh, that's exactly what we needed. Apparently, Hall was a problem in the locker room or something like that. There was a lot of reasons why he got let go. The timing, they wanted a defenseman. It wasn't a good market for a defenseman at the time. And they had to get rid of him. I've heard a lot of rumors as to why it happened. But they had to get rid of him that summer. And I'm like, okay, you need a defenseman. For the love of God, just go get a good deal and then use those assets. Wait a bit. It's not going to be a poor market forever. And wait for a time when you can get a defenseman. Like when you make it, I think if you're pressed to make a deal, you don't look for a position. You just look for the best deal you can find. I don't even remember that trade, but oh yeah. He almost became a Flames fan. What was that other one? Oh, the Ron Francis, Hartford Whalers had a whole ton of them. Go check out the Ron Francis trade to Pittsburgh. That was terrible. Come up with some more and I'll be right back. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, that one was brutal. Those are the ones that come to mind. I know like there's a lot more. Oh shoot. The Toronto Maple Leafs probably have the record for bad trades, though, I would have to say. I would have to say the Toronto Maple Leafs probably have the record for bad trades. In the 80s, Russ Courtnall for Cordic, like stuff like that. That was horrible. 80s and 90s. Calgary's made some pretty brutal ones, too. Was that one like Stoyanovich, Vancouver traded? Was that Trevor Linden? That Trevor Linden trade was pretty bad. What was that trade? Oh, you know what? I didn't know that. Trevor Linden, one of the reasons why he was traded is because his relationship between coach Mike Keenan had eroded to the point people could see a trade coming. Wow. In return, 22-year-old defenseman Brian McCabe. Oh, they got Todd Bertuzzi in that deal. Okay. Well, it's not that bad, except for what happened with Bertuzzi. But for John Michael Lyles, yeah, there's a good one. I mean, John Michael Lyles wasn't that bad, but Tim Gleason was pretty awesome defensive defenseman. I didn't realize they had got Bertuzzi back, and I didn't know that the main reason why Trevor Linden got traded from Vancouver is he didn't get along with Mike Keenan, which tells you something. Trevor Linden is a guy of super high character, and he didn't get along with Trevor Linden or with Mike Keenan. So I don't know. Did anybody ever get along with Mike Keenan? Like he did some crazy stuff. After St. Louis, after St. Louis, I always held out hope that we'd turn things around, but obviously the team struggled, and it was evident that something had to be done. Linden said it wasn't an oil and water situation with the man they call Iron Mike. Islanders GM Mike Milbury isn't worried Linden was in Keenan's doghouse. So anyway, something happened between Keenan and Linden. And that's why that deal happened. I didn't know that. That was quite a while ago, so I don't know. But if you wanted, that wasn't really a bad trade necessarily. McCabe never turned out to be what everybody thought he was going to be, but he was a pretty good defenseman. And then they got Bertuzzi, and unfortunately there was that incident with Bertuzzi. But besides that, Bertuzzi was a great player. If that wouldn't have happened, he was one of the best power forwards ever. And unfortunately, because he did what he did when he broke that dude's neck or whatever, he'll never be remembered for that. But I'm just thinking of some bad trades that come up to my head. That, of course, the Sagan trade, that was terrible. Thornton trade. Remember the Thornton trade? Joe Thornton to St. Louis for like Sturm and basically nothing. And apparently, like, what had happened was they were in on Chara. They knew they were going to get Chara, Boston. And so basically, they talked to Joe Thornton and said, because they weren't going to be able to afford both. This was really at the beginning of the cap time. And they obviously didn't think Joe Thornton was going to be able to be the captain they're looking for. And not only that, you're talking about Zdeno Chara, okay? I love Joe Thornton. He was a great player. He is a great player, but if you got to choose between Chara and Thornton, I'm going to take Chara. At the time, a 6'8" monster of a man, incredible defenseman. Yeah, I'm going to, but the thing is they could have got a lot more for him. When they made the trade, they basically asked him where he would like to go. And Thornton is a surf guy. He's a surfer. Yeah, that was a bad one too. From Montreal. He's a surfer. So he said he wanted to go somewhere around there. And I don't know if it was specifically San Jose or whatever it was, but basically that they honored that from him which was a pretty cool thing to do because they didn't have to. They could trade him anywhere. At that time, you didn't really have no trade clauses or anything like that. And so they didn't get much back in return at all. The Draper for 1 cent. That's another one of those ones where I think they're just honoring a player for where he wants to go. So they're basically just giving him to that team. That happens a lot. Like there's value in treating players that are like that, because the people that are in your room are going to respect the organization, and it's great for when you're trying to. Sign players. Oh yeah, you're here very late. I gotta ender now, Hockey News Reports. My wife, I got to pick her up. She's got to get right back here, I guess. Zach Senyshyn asked for a trade from the Bruins? So now you're going to have Senyshyn and DeBrusk? I didn't hear about that. Makes sense. I mean, I guess. You might as well try it somewhere else. Where did you hear that? I can't even ask. I got to go. You guys are all coming in now that I'm done. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got to get going anyways, buddy. That's my full 42. My wife needs to come home like right away, so I got to get her on time. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.